Jacob Wilson has broken Todd's projection system. That and a whole lot more coming up on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are brought to you by Draftkings PickSix. Use promo code RWPicks for $50 in PickSix credits with a $5 deposit. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire, here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. And Todd, it seems like Jacob Wilson broken your projection system, maybe your camera as well. But no, we do know that Jacob Wilson will be getting called up. And the first-round pick last year, sixth overall, in fact, and reaches the majors after just 72 games, 46 of which have come this season. And as you would expect if he's broken your system, absurd numbers across three levels this year.
And what makes it a little more difficult is they were in hitting environments, right? Especially Las Vegas.
Yeah,
and he's
PCL.
Not a power hitter. He's not a power hitter. And he struck out 3 times in 90 at-bats, something like that? So,
it with Las Vegas 3 times in 90 plate appearances. Absolutely wild.
That's when that translates, that's just going to be goofy. The BABIP's going to be out of this world. So, I mean, that's why I said he broke the translation system, because it hit like a 390 BABIP, and that's just not going to happen, even in even with coming down of Oakland. So I had just pretty much guessed, and it looks like he's got a bit of power, but again, how does that play in Oakland for Jacob Wilson? Doesn't run much. Mm-hmm. So to me, this guy, I mean, he could be Luis Ruiz. Ryan Noda did not do so good. I mean, he could be Ryan Noda, Nolan Shanuel, who, I mean, I don't know who he is. I know nothing about him. He was drafted high, so obviously he's got some pedigree, and it looks like he's going to play, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not counting on a bunch of counting stats, but I don't care where you're batting. If you're only striking out 3 times in 90 plate appearances, you can hit the ball, right? you hit the ball. So I think
you're right that it doesn't have, the power isn't eye-popping, but 7 this year in 46 games.
In Vegas
had 13? Yeah, that's true. But he had like 13. So he has like double. Well, not 13 in the majors, but he had 12 in 2022 in college, and another one after.
So basically, he's even more of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Than other. I mean, most. You can translate most of them. His numbers just don't translate. Plus, it's short sample. You only really translate AA and AAA, and he had fewer than 40 games or whatever it was at both levels. So this is a variance.
Across 200 plate appearances in total this season between rookie ball, AA, and AAA. 200 plate appearances, 13 strikeouts in total against 12 walks. So he's not drawing a ton of walks, so he's not striking out either.
Right. I mean, all right, we're a couple weeks before the Fabaganza with the trade deadline. I'm guessing he's not on a lot of reserve lists like an AL Labor and AL Tout. I mean, if you don't have the hammer, do you go after Wilson? Say you have third or fourth most money. Maybe he's and just hope and maybe. All right, I get batting average and make another trade to get more power stat. I don't know. I think you kind of have to.
Yeah, that contact really portends well for his big league future for sure. Yeah. We'll see. I actually grabbed him in the stake league last night. Jacob Wilson of the A's, and I got him for 6 out of 100. So, once I saw he was getting the call, I put in that bid. My middle infield spot's been pretty tricky this year. I've been rotating in guys like Wenzel, Perez. So I thought, hey, why not give Jacob Wilson a shot here? See what he's got. And, I just think the contact ability gives him a decent floor. I don't think he's going to completely fall on his face, which is something.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the other Brooks Baldwin was also called up by the White Sox.
Yep.
And they used him a little bit at second and third. He's a shortstop by trade. They're using him a few different places, which kind of says he may be more of a utility guy, or maybe he's a Moncada hedge if Juan Moncada can't come back, which would not be the biggest shock in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baldwin has got spicier counting stats, but he doesn't have near the contact ability. So it's just kind of when you don't know which you want to go with, and playing time, etc. And you throw in Drew Waters, who was called up. I don't think that Drew Waters is going to get a huge amount of run in Kansas City while Melendez is out. But, he's a prospect of note, right? I mean, I guess that's the right way to put it, of note.
True.
Blanco, Hampson, even Adam Frazier. I don't think this is a chance to give Waters a look. I think if they were going to do that, the Royals, it already would have been done.
True. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in Baldwin a little bit. Back to him for a second. He was picked up in the stake league as well, but $0 for him, compared to the $6 I paid for Wilson, which I think kind of reflects the difference in pedigree, because Baldwin's not like a big time prospect. 12th round pick in 2022, although he did, as you alluded to, post pretty impressive numbers this year in the minors. A AA and AAA, 8 homers, 17 steals, respectable 851 OPS. And remember, he's playing in Charlotte in the International League compared to the PCL, which is a big difference.
Absolutely. I wish Jason
Collette could take note of. Sorry.
No, I say our buddy Jason Collette probably seen him play down in Charlotte.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Xavier Edwards also picked up here for 3. Then I grabbed Shelby Miller. We talked a little bit last week. I got Miller for 3. Actually, in the corresponding drop was Jason Foley. I talked last week that maybe that was slipping over to Shelby Miller, that closer job, and then Foley had a save midweek, but then blew another save on Friday last week, and then had an outing where he was scoreless but walked 2. So I kind of see Shelby Miller taking over as the Detroit closer if he hasn't already.
Right. Yeah. And who knows? He could be I don't think if he gets traded, it's not to close, but maybe somebody wants him to help their bullpen, which doesn't help you, but you never know.
Might be a window though here for Shelby Miller to
for
grab some saves. Jake Fraley picked up for 3. Fraley's been kind of puzzling because just the power. I mean, I don't know. A lot of guys seen their power dip this year, but Jake Fraley's total absence of power is really puzzling.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but hasn't he been like in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the lineup? I mean, with injuries.
Yeah, that's
I mean, all the Reds have been like that, though. I guess, right?
Yeah.
Friedel,
just
the whole 9 yards.
Fraley's slugging percentage is down over 90 points. So I don't know. He never had eye-popping power, but 15 homers last year was career high, down to 1 through 221 plate appearances. And that he's a guy with good contact, but he needs to hit for more power if he's going to be viable in fantasy. The Reds run wild, though, so that does help prop him up.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the ball. I mean, you would think playing in the Great American Ballpark would help mitigate the ball a bit, I would think. Mm-hmm. Maybe not.
Yeah, you'd think so, but for whatever reason, Jake Fraley's power has just been completely dried up so far this season. Tommy Edman, $2 pickup here. Sounds like it'll be a few weeks before we see Edman, but he has been rehabbing. Kind of been stop and start on his rehab assignment, but maybe we'll see Edman shortly after the start of August or around then. Esteury Ruiz picked up for $1. He was sent to the minors, hurt. He has been playing on rehab, so played a full 9 innings in the ACL. Excuse me. I think that was Tuesday. So he seems ready. Do you expect the A's to give him pretty regular playing time, or do you think he kind of slots back into a part-time role?
JJ Bleday has played kind of just well enough to continue to play. Mm-hmm. He was hot for a while, but he has cooled down. But they've seen him. So I guess it depends. If they like what they see, they keep playing him. If not, you go to Ruiz. Butler was hot right before the break. Didn't he have a 3-homer game?
Yeah, Lawrence Butler out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I'm curious to see how much Seth Brown plays, although it's probably at first base. It's like they want to look at everybody else. The A's are there. They see what they've seen. Okay, it's back to Ruiz. I can see that happening, but I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure what the heck the A's are doing, to be honest with you. I'd love to be able to identify a couple of their batters to pick up in keeper leagues because they're moving to Sacramento. But I don't know who to target. Zach Geloff, maybe, if he can get the strikeouts in order.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Seth Brown, I had a bit in on last night, you mentioned. Ruiz, though, it's just, I think those 67 steals from last year are just still fresh in people's minds and kind of push him up probably more than he should be because it doesn't seem like the A's really have plans for Ruiz in their long-term rebuild here. It's just, those 67 steals were so much driven by playing time in a non-competitive season. Then they just seemingly moved on. So
his defense is bad, but bad defenders that can, that he wouldn't be the first bad defender that was left in the lineup. But I mean, we talk about plans. I just don't know what the A's plan is, moving into the new park. Maybe they may not have one, and that would be bad. I need to apologize to those listeners. I barely have a voice after we had a little RotoWire get together earlier in the week, so I can barely talk.
Well, glad to have you with us. Even I appreciate you bearing it and
we're good
and struggling it out. But yeah, it's always good to talk. And Ruiz. Yeah, I could see him being DFA'd or dumped. I don't know if they really plan on playing him regularly. So we'll have to just wait and see on that. Michael Tolia picked up for $1, and then James Outman seems to be kind of knocking on the door for more playing time. He's back up in the big leagues. Do you think Outman's gonna get another chance here?
I'd like to think. Well, biased. He was one of my biggest misses this year. So
yeah, I mean, he's got a great year last year.
Yeah, selfishly, I hope he does, but I don't know. You think the Dodgers would like to? I think they would like an Outman performing like he did last year down the stretch and into the playoffs. So I think you'd like to give him a chance. Pajes hasn't shown, other than the quick, burst, has not shown. Oh well, defensively fantastic, right? But hasn't shown enough Pajes to sort of keep Outman on the outside looking in. So I do think Outman gets a chance. And I did pick him up in a couple of places like a couple of weeks ago before he was called up, because this is the time of year where, we talk about how valuable reserve spots are. But so, if your injuries have already settled and you've got guys replacement, you may have a couple of reserve spots to play with. And there are players to pick up like Outman. Now, of course, I got Parker Meadows on the same team. I can decide which I'm going to keep. But that's my problem, not yours.
Well, Outman got a couple starts at the final week of the season. So, he got 3 after July 9th. So, in and out of the lineup, probably not going to start against lefties, but maybe a pathway back for him to fantasy relevance. And another Dodger, River Ryan. Not a guy I know a ton about. James only has him, I believe, 12th in the organization among prospects. So, not somebody that I think is getting a ton of buzz right now.
12th on a pretty good system, though, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
System. I don't know how good the Dodgers. I hope you're not hearing the horn in the background. The Dodgers system might not be as good as it once was, but so we have.
That's a good point. 12 in the Dodgers organization is a lot different than 12 in some other organization. That's true.
He's 25.
He's not a total nobody.
Yeah, 25. Hasn't pitched much this year, at any level. has done pretty well, strikeout wise, well more than a strikeout an inning. So I think it's an interesting arm, and the Dodgers certainly need the help. I don't think it's definite that he's coming up and pitching this week, but we think it's reasonable that he may start next week.
Yeah, it's kind of looking that way. So, yeah, plans uncertain a little bit, but it does look like he will be slotting in for the Dodgers, most likely in the rotation. I picked up Angel Martinez for 0. I'm kind of surprised people aren't more excited about him because batting second for that Guardians team, smack dab between a couple of All-Stars and Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez. Yeah. Nice little run for him so far in the big leagues. We know Rhys Hines on a historic heater to start his career, and Martinez not getting much buzz, but he has a couple homers himself, along with more walks, 8, than strikeouts, 7 through 56 plate appearances.
I bet you he's been like the next in line in a lot of waterfalls. You said he hasn't been picked up yet. I bet this.
Well,
this
he
like
has,
next.
but not in a ton of leagues. But
right? No, I mean I'm saying I think there's always someone he was like you bid on 3 guys and he was like the third and you didn't end up getting him because you got one of the other ones.
Yeah,
it's I don't know what to think about Guardians middle infield because they haven't had a whole lot of success. I mean they just they're okay, but none of them have popped. So it's kind of like another one, but why not?
Yeah, I love the lineup placement and the success so far. So we'll see. I was a little surprised to get him on $0 ad relative to some of these other prices. I was pretty happy. Others to consider if available in your league. Mentioned Rhys Hines. He probably scooped up, but wanted to mention him. Any change in thoughts on Rhys Hines since last week? You buying in a little bit more, or still highly skeptical?
I got him and mixed out.
Oh, nice.
I could look up the numbers because I just did the report last night. It cost me like 113. It was probably 33% of my budget. Keeping in mind though, it's a similar NFBC, but there's $0 bids, so it's not quite the same. I mean, you can in a mixed league at the end, you could keep your roster active with $0 bids. Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, I only have to keep him active for 3 days by the rule. So let's have him in there. And then, it's one of those where I'm learning to do, you and Eric helping me out here. It's better than Rob Refsnyder, who's currently on my bench. So why not? And if, the numbers say it's not going to last, but, I got nothing to lose except my reputation of being too safe.
Well, a lot of people making the comparisons to Aristides Aquino, which fair enough. You can kill the man, but not the idea. And maybe this is Aristides Aquino 2.0 here. But if nothing else, this affords him some runway, right, to show what he can do over more plate appearances.
And he's not just hitting homers; he's hitting 450-foot, gargantuan, majestic shots. So some people, the lighting, just there are things that happen from the minors to the majors. It's just not strict translation, So it may just be, maybe his eyes are a little bad and the lighting's so much better in the major leagues, and that's all it took. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying it half tongue in cheek, but there's this. It's plausible.
You never know what can unlock something for some guys. It's such an inexact science, the game of baseball. So you never know, and it could all crash and burn tomorrow. But for right now, I think Rhys Hines probably should be rostered in most leagues.
Yep.
Others to consider if available in your league: Lawrence Butler, who we briefly mentioned, Gilbert Diaz, we talked about last week, and will be on our 2-star pitcher list here coming up momentarily. Luis L. Ortiz of the Pirates, who's suddenly seemed to find something, and his teammate really brought a lot of attention to the game this past weekend. Paul Skeens enjoyed the All-Star game, and it was fun seeing a lot of people out in Vegas. So if I got to see the thank you for being there. Thank you, Todd, for making the trek. And you have a good time out in Vegas? I know you had to
left
work
my voice
quite a
in.
lot.
A little bit. I mean, no, during the day maybe, but I'm not a sun guy. So I went to the cabana, went to the dinners. Like it was fun. No, I had a really good time. I mean, air conditioning. I don't have that here. Got to meet him. The only complaint, and this isn't about RotoWire, it's just thing in general, is why do you have to have this thumping boom, 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 boom music everywhere you go? you can't talk. You have to. All conversations are at the top of your voice, and
that's a good point.
Yeah. Again, it's not. Guys, I'm not going to go unless you pick a quiet place. Well, there's no library in Vegas to have a conference. So anyway, no, it was a blast. I mean, I've never been to the downtown part. I mean, I've been to Vegas probably 30 to 50 times. It's always been in the Strip, so it was kind of cool. Now that I'm not going to go anywhere and just kind of stay where I'm at, it was a really nice place, Circa, and a really nice place to just hit everything you need right there. So that was great.
Absolutely. That's great to hear, man. I enjoyed myself. I'm not,
Oh yeah.
My skin can't take too much of that sun, but I enjoyed a little bit of time at the pool and enjoyed the dinners. I made it back to the Mob Museum for a second time. Didn't see everything last year, so I had to go back. Also made it to Steak and Shake not once but twice. I love Steak and Shake. I can't help it. It was a really good time. And we'll continue on here with our 2-star pitchers, but let me bring you a quick word from our friends over at Draftkings PickSix. Did you ever play the over-under game with your friends? Think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds, or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2-liter. If you have, then you're going to love PickSix, the new fantasy game from Draftkings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings PickSix app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits only on DraftKings PickSix. The crown is yours. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable PickSix credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. We appreciate their support of the podcast, of course, and you can load up our 2-star pitcher grid yourself if you want to follow along with us the week of July 22nd. We're pretty well past the halfway point, but officially, quote unquote, the second half kicking off today and next week, the first full week of the second half. And Yilber Diaz, who I mentioned, going to start things off today. And makes for a really interesting 2-star option next week, as he's at KC versus Pittsburgh. Really good numbers so far. So Yilber Diaz, I imagine, going to be started across a lot of leagues next week. Picked up where he's still available. And KC versus Pitt. See how many Ks he has, Yilber. Looks like he has only 7 Ks in 12 innings. Still like, what I've seen for the most part. Haven't really watched a full start of his so far, but some gifts here and there. I think I'm going to go 2. I could see the case for a 3, though.
I was on a 3 until you mentioned the 7 strikeouts. It's always interesting when you get 2 starts. One you get 5. Okay, I'll take 5. But the other you get 2. So it's like, which is it? The 5 or the 2? But I'm going to go with a 2 as well. But I'm kind of with you. I don't know that we're going to find a whole lot better as we go on, at least to pick up.
Yeah, among the guys still widely available.
Yeah.
May not be many better options than Yilber Diaz. So, with those matchups, even with the low Ks, I would probably give him a shot in a lot of leagues. Chris Sale took a back seat to Paul Skeens in the All-Star game, but, still was right up there among the candidates to start the game. Could have easily started the game. 13 wins. really helped carry this Atlanta team so far. Now they're probably out of that division mix, but still right there in the wild card hunt. So Sale versus Cincinnati at the Mets. I think I'll give him a 5. I don't see any reason not to.
If he had 2 games in Colorado, I'd probably still give him a 5. He's just a 5. No, I'd probably give him a 4. But anyway.
What about Ronaldo? I mean, I would say he's got a case as a 5 too. I think, as we've said many times on this show over the years, we like to typically reserve those 5s for that elite group, the real aces. And I don't think I'm ready to put Ronaldo there, but high end 4 for me.
Of all pitchers, I am most scared of the regression monster biting Ronaldo.
I've been waiting for that shoe to drop too.
Yeah, I mean, although we're at the point where, all right, the estimators are like high 3s, which is still very good. So it's not like you need to get, run. You would have taken a high 3 if you knew that was going to get. So even if that's what he gets the rest of the way, it's fine. Those matchups, I want to say 3, but the matchups are making me 4.
And by the way, while we're on the topic of Atlanta, we had a question in the chat about Spencer Schwellenbach, so I thought we'd circle back on that. Not a 2-star pitcher next week, Schwellenbach, but the question was him
Soriano
versus Soriano, so I assume that's Jose Soriano of the Angels.
If you're still around, Austin, because that this week or the rest of the season, I'm kind of on Schwellenbach until he gives me reason not to be.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers for Soriano are pretty impressive. Doesn't fan a ton of batters.
Which is odd because that was supposed to be his calling card, at least how fast he threw the ball. And then could he stay healthy? I think, you know what?
That's
I know this
call.
is a cop-out. This is a cop-out, maybe not. Maybe it's the way to look at it. I know Schwellenbach's a risk, but I think he's safer than Soriano. But I think Soriano may have more upside. Higher. Not that a rookie like Schwellenbach can have a floor, but I think he has more of a floor than Soriano.
I think with Schwellenbach home against the Reds, and then he would line up for a 2-start next week at Milwaukee versus Miami. If we're looking short term and having that narrow focus, which we probably should have right now with starters, I would lean Schwellenbach too.
Yep.
That's a pretty good immediate schedule versus Cincinnati, at Milwaukee versus Miami. Yeah, go Schwellenbach there. All right, back to our 2-star pitchers for next week. We're on to the Baltimore Orioles and Albert Suarez, who's been a nice surprise himself this year, at Miami versus San Diego for Albert Suarez. I have him in a league, and I'm starting him, so I'm gonna go 3, but I feel pretty good about Suarez this week.
Xander's back. Xander Bogaerts is back.
Well, that's true for San Diego.
I'm just more tongue in cheek, not so much tongue in cheek, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? It's between 2 and 3. Baltimore, you got to go. I mean, wins do matter. You got to go Baltimore. I think
you got to think he gets one in Miami, but
you got to round up with a guy like that's on Baltimore with that. I know that they're in a bit of a dip, but even so, you got to round up.
I would agree with you there. And then Tanner Houck gave up that big moonshot to Ohtani, right? But then his teammate bailed him out, Jarren Duran.
Well, I thought you were going to bring up that he got lit up his last outing, but yes, he did.
Yeah.
Houck got hit pretty hard. It wasn't.
My guy Hunter Green gave up the homer to lose the All-Star game. But
what were you going to say? Yeah, I was going to say that Houck actually was hit pretty hard. It wasn't just the Ohtani. I mean, he was a couple of guys on base. One of them, I mean, it was like a one hopper that the second baseman kind of olayed, but it was still hit pretty hard. I'm more concerned about the last outing that Houck had where he just didn't really have it. I'm still looking for a solid second half, though.
At Colorado, though, then versus New York, kind of a tough 2-step for him.
Oh, it is.
I'm probably going to go 4 because, he's been so great. And, at Colorado isn't necessarily, death sentence, but can't go 5, but 4 I feel like on Houck.
I mean, if you would have said 3, I wouldn't have blinked an eye. I'm going to go 4 as well, but it's still a couple tough matchups, and we're still assuming that Houck and Suarez and a few of these guys keep it up. We'd like to think they will, but until we see it for a full year, it's still up in the air.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And this is a kind of a tough one in Javier Assad of the Cubs for next week. He's versus Milwaukee at KC. What makes it tough is that when he returned just before the All-Star break, only 2 1/3 innings in that return, 44 pitches. So, we're 6 days removed from that. We'll be, more than that by the time his turn rolls around. But regardless, I'd have to assume Assad's still on some sort of pitch count.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's. I mean, I think it still can get in 5 innings. But do you want to count on that Cubs bullpen to take it home for you?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I feel better about it in the second start of the week at KC, but it's still, you just don't really know if the reins are off. So, and he'd have to be efficient even in a best case scenario. So I think I may go 2 on Assad.
I'm going to, I'm going to go 2.
Okay, I mean, he liked what he showed earlier, but until we see him stretch out a little more, I think I'm going to be a little reluctant.
Yeah.
Hunter Green, I mentioned he gave up the game-winning homer in the All-Star game. Kind of a bummer, but it was cool that he got there, deserving it to be added to the All-Star team, and I'm sure he'll get over it. At Atlanta, at Tampa Bay, a little down south swing here for the Reds coming up next week. At Atlanta and Tampa Bay.
You see, he's in a 4-5 range for me now, where it's a matchup. He's shown me enough that he's a 4. In really good matchups, he's a 5. So I don't love the matchups. So I think I'm going to stick with 4.
Yeah, I really like the turn he's made this year and the growth he's shown. But yeah, I think a 4, and knocking on the door of 5 territory. But
yeah, no, I think
tentatively
different
a 4.
matchups. Different matchups, I wouldn't hesitate.
Now Cleveland, Carlos Carrasco, and it is Spencer Howard. Struggled in his team debut, Spencer Howard, and honestly, I'm thinking 0 for both of these guys. Probably no need to really think about it much.
Yeah, I keep waiting to Carrasco to get DFA'd, but Cleveland keeps having injured pitchers. They need them.
Yeah, I wonder. It's kind of wild just how good they've been with some issues in that rotation. Tristan McKenzie.
Yeah.
Of course. And it's been Bieber, of course, too. So yeah, it's kind of wild how well they've done with those injuries. I wonder if our friend Dallas Keuchel will get another chance with somebody. He was DFA'd by Milwaukee.
He's with the minors. He cleared waivers.
Oh, did he clear waivers? Wow.
Yeah.
And he accepted that outright assignment?
Yep.
Surprising.
I went to a little site called RotoWire that had that information for me.
I missed that. Well, he probably likes that pitching lab, even if you're not on the 40-man, at least you can maybe get some help tweaking some things from the staff and get on the right track. Kyle Freeland versus Boston at San Francisco, 6 ERA. One's at home, but I think he's a 0. I mean, why light your ratios on fire?
Then he throws in that 7-inning 2-run game. But I agree. I'm not taking the chance.
Yeah, I can't go chasing that. A couple trade candidates for the Chicago White Sox, Eric Fetty and Garrett Crochet. Fetty's got a sub-3 ERA, just the hair under, but 2.99 at Texas versus Seattle. You think this is his last couple starts in a White Sox uniform, these guys?
I think it makes sense to trade Fetty.
Mm-hmm.
But Crochet, there's still enough control. To me, you got to get just blown away. And I don't know if you're going to get blown away for a guy who may not be able to help you much this year with the innings.
It's true. It sounds like the Dodgers are really interested in both Crochet and Luis Robert. So maybe they could blow him away for the pair, but Yeah, they might not get a blowaway offer for Crochet alone. So it may be tough. And yeah, Crochet makes for a tough call here because he only threw 2 innings. As you said, we know his innings are going to be managed, and that plan's seemingly in effect already. So only 28 pitches. Have they kind of disclosed any plan, or is this just, they're going to keep him on a short hook?
I don't think, I think they're going to play it game by game. And I think a lot of what's going on now is keeping it short to maybe increase the trade. I mean, it's a double-edged thing, or whatever. And not so much double-edged, but it's accomplishing 2 things. It is reducing the innings to maybe make it easier to trade. But if you don't trade them, it's monitoring the innings. So I don't know. I mean, to me, you just have to get. I heard the radio yesterday. Not Jackson Holiday, but the Orioles, like 2 more really good prospects from the Orioles that are in the top 15. Would take like 2 top 15 prospects to get it done. The Orioles may be one of the only teams that have that kind of inventory. But is that what they want?
Yeah, I've heard Kobe Mayo's name thrown around a lot lately.
Yeah, Mayo and Basia, is that the guy? I think.
Yeah, Basia.
Yeah, those are the 2 that they were talking about. So I don't know. I mean, that's another team, the White Sox. I'd like to see a little more of a plan.
Yeah, they seem kind of like twisting in the wind right now. Crochet, I don't think I can give a 5 just because unless we hear like, okay, he's, the reins are off for this next start or no pitch count. I have to assume he's just not going to be throwing as many innings. But I'd still probably start him in the majority of leagues. I'm going to give him a 4, but can't give him a 5. And I think, is Fetty a 4 as well? I think I'm going to go 3 on Fetty.
I mean, I can see going 3 on Crochet for exactly the reasons that, he's going to get some strikeouts. So keep the ratios. He's probably not going to get you a win, but how many wins are you going to get with Chicago anyway? I'm not using him in DFS. I'm not betting on him. I take the under on strikeouts if I do bet, just because I think the better chance of that happening, especially if the number hasn't adjusted. I'm going to go. All right, I'm going to go 4 because the numbers are going to be so good. It's like starting a reliever that can't get wins. And Fetty, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go +1. I'm gonna go 4.
Okay, I get your.
We've been agreeing too much, man. They're gonna separate us if we keep agreeing. They want conflict.
Yeah, we gotta have a little bit of a difference here. Tarek Skubal, thought I had Corbin Burns as our projected starter for the All-Star game for all of last week, and then we talked about earned values, and I was like, really, Corbin Burns doesn't have the edge on Skubal anywhere, but Bochy gave the veteran the nod, and they're both in the mix and deserving, but I just kept seeing kept looking for avenues to where Burns was better, and Skubal had him by a hair everywhere, so I thought maybe it would be Skubal or something. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, either way, Skubal was very much in the mix to start the All-Star game. At Cleveland versus Minnesota, that's got to be a 5.
That's a 5. We're not arguing there.
But what about the other Detroit starter, Matt Manning? At Cleveland versus Minnesota, so the same 2-step for him. Manning was, he's tentative here because he's very much up in the air. Yeah, well, that too. But I think who did they send down? Did they send somebody down? I don't know. They just at the end of the week they started Bo Brisky and just kind of went with a bullpen game. So they kind of they're light on starters. Well, they moved Kenta Maeda to the bullpen.
Right, that's one of the moves. But there was another one, but that was the one I think we're thinking of.
It's possible that this ends up being Kenta Maeda working as a primary a couple times, because even though Maeda was moved to the bullpen, he ended up working as the primary in the final game before the All-Star break.
Yeah, Mize's still in the IL, and I'm not sure when coming back. I can't give Manning anything more than a 0.
Yeah, very much up in the air and not really deserving in either way. So 0 for me as well. No 2-star pitchers for the Houston Astros. And then for the Kansas City Royals, Cole Reagan's going to be a 5, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Well, did he pitch in the game? Yeah, he pitched in the All-Star game. So yeah, it was a nice way to get him a little bit more of a break because he pitched in the game. Cole Reagan's is a 5. Sorry, Nick, I can't make you mad. Cole Reagan's is a 5. Nick Pollock.
Well, before we move on, we will pause briefly and bring you a quick word from our sponsors. And now we are back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Link here with Todd Zola, making our way through the rest of the 2-start pitchers for next week. First full week after the All-Star break. And we are now on to the Los Angeles Angels. And these are a couple guys who probably going to be zeros, but we'll mention them. Carson Fulmer and Jack Kokanowitz. I wouldn't start either of these guys. Fulmer, I mean, we know his story. He's been around forever, bouncing around. So I wouldn't expect much out of either of these guys, and you can, I would say, safely ignore them.
Yeah, I mean, Fulmer's got decent numbers as a reliever, but not as a starter.
And then Ryder Ryan, who we mentioned, doesn't look like he's going to get 2, but wanted to just say that he lines up to start Monday, and in theory could end up getting another start if the Dodgers shuffle some things around. Yanni Chirinos. Sorry?
I was going to say if Wroblewski has a rough weekend, who knows? I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. Or an injury, which they've had many of. Yanni Chirinos is going to be a 0 for me as well.
Yep.
But Max Meyer, certainly interesting. Team contact's a big mark against him. He's really facing an uphill struggle. But there was a report that he might be up next week. So not official, but they could seemingly gain that. They have seemingly gained that extra year of control. So versus Baltimore at Milwaukee.
We're tempering innings, though.
That's true. I'm thinking of 2, but yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go 2, but again, keep in mind that Meyer may not pitch more than 4 innings.
And Colin Ray of the Milwaukee Brewers has been a pretty nice find on the waiver wire for fantasy managers with 9 wins, a serviceable 3.77 ERA. He'd be at Chicago, then versus Miami. Pretty nice 2-step for Ray. I'll turn this one over to you to start. Where are you on Colin Ray?
I'm not high, but these aren't bad matchups.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2. I don't love it.
Okay, I'm going to go 3, but put you down for a 2. It seems like you've kind of all season have been skeptical of Ray. So
yeah, but skeptical of a lot of guys that have proven to be not worthy of skepticism. I'm just slower.
Well, at the same time, it's skepticism is always warranted in this game. Like when you're successful 30% of the time, and that's a big accomplishment. That it's a really hard game, and I don't know. I think with Ray, you're probably right to have some skepticism. I'm a little bit more optimistic though, so I'm going to go a point higher at 3. What about Bailey Ober versus Philadelphia at Detroit? This was a guy that you liked coming in, and it seems like the numbers have finally started to come around after that rough first start, right?
Well, they came around, then they went back down again, but they're back up again.
Right. Yeah.
I mentioned, he's still in the midst of a really soft schedule, although the Phillies break that up. I mean, 3 or 4, the Phillies probably make it a 3 because they're just so good. But I think Ober took advantage of the soft schedule that he's had for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, it hasn't been all smooth sailing since that first start, but really, overall, if you subtract that first start, it's been
his ERA's
pretty
back under 4.
Yeah.
So that's something.
And what about Christian Scott? 0-2, still searching for his first big league win, but lines up for a start at Miami to start the week. That would seem like a good spot to grab that first career win. Then he would be versus Atlanta to end the week, tentatively. I think I'm going to go 3, but I could see the case for some reluctance in the 2, but I would probably start Christian Scott.
I'm going to start him, but that's where I was 2 and 3 as well. I'd like to think, all right, the Mets have calmed the innings down. With some of these guys, at some point, you do have to see if they can handle going deeper into a game. So it's tough to do both, right? It's tough to manage innings and get the experience going deeper into games. But I think we're going to start to see that with Scott. I'm going to go 3, but I'm with you that if either of us had 2, I don't think either of us would have blinked.
What the heck is going on with Carlos Rodon? It just doesn't seem to be getting much better now. He only gave up 2 earned runs his last time out, but that was over 4 innings. He needed 98 pitches to get through those 4 innings, so he's been laboring and just struggling. Got off to a great start, but a 6.85 ERA over his last 46 innings. Versus Tampa Bay at Boston. A couple tough divisional matchups. I'm tempted to go 2, but I think I'll go 3 on Rodon.
I'm going to go 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not liking what you're seeing lately.
Yeah, I'm going to quickly address Angelo in the chat because we see this a lot with ESPN ownership and Yahoo, etc. Keep in mind that these leagues are mostly 10 teams with 7 pitchers in their daily. Teams are only keeping 3 pitchers on their roster without streaming. So to have a 80-90% rostership, you need to be in the top 30. 41% is actually pretty high in the ESPN league. Yeah. I mean, in general, that's pretty high. So I think 41% it's different than the NFBC 41% because of the format that's played.
That's a good point. Good to mention that because so much of that is streaming, like you said. Like you have to realize the context of the league size and the setup. So yeah, that does make more sense. Although it makes a good point that Manaya has been quietly good for the Mets this season.
If 41% says it, I mean that is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's I see people all the time on Twitter, not just Angela. I mean, in the industry, how can this guy be 17% rostered when he whatever? Well, it's because there's 7 pitchers, 70 pitchers overall, and half of them are closers. To answer HP, if that's your real name, I'm not touching. I don't care what I'm not using Harrison at the Rockies.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that next. Got it up on the screen here now. Kyle Harrison at the Rockies tonight. I would not start him either. The over-under in that game is 10.5. Yeah, some wins there. San Francisco is favored slightly at -142, but I mean, it is the Rockies, but you're playing with fire anytime you're going to Coors. So tread lightly. What about Hogan Harris, not Harrison, versus Houston at the Angels? I have Hogan Harris in one league, which is Derek Van Riper's Mackey League, where I'm just trying to get some wins in there, some pitchers. So I'm probably going to hold on to him and probably going to start him, but don't feel good about it. Probably only 1.
Yeah, I liked him earlier. I just like all A's by definition and see what happens. Yeah, I'm going to go 1 as well.
Yeah, I might actually, because of how his league does it, I may skip the Houston start and start him at the Angels. I know most people, don't have that luxury with pitchers, but I may just start him for the second half of that 2-step. Then Zach Wheeler, that's an easy 5.
Yep.
Who would you take higher next year between Wheeler and Skeens? Because I was updating the cheat sheet and I had them right next to each other. I think I put Skeens ahead. by one slot.
I think you can justify having Paul. I mean, I'd like to see how many innings he gets, just because I don't think you can argue against Paul Skeens number one.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not drafting
right
him,
there.
but that might be where I rank him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really tough to know right now, but Skeens has definitely put himself right up there. Not leaving the first round in any leagues next year. Mitch Keller versus St. Louis at Arizona. He's got 10 wins now, Mitch Keller. He's taking a back seat to Skeens and Jared Jones before Jones got hurt. But, I've kind of been the guy who's been skeptical of Keller, but I think versus St. Louis at Arizona, I think I'm going to go 4.
I've been on Miller the whole time. HP, which
Keller.
Miller?
Keller.
I was going to ask which Miller in your question, and maybe we can address it.
No, Keller.
Yeah, well, Keller here, but HP wants us to answer your question, and one of the choices was Miller, and I'm just curious which one.
Oh, right. I see that now. Stash 2 SPs. Yeah. We can get to that if he clarifies.
Yep. But I'm going to go 4 on Keller, and I'm starting him. I've been a fan.
Randy Vasquez for the San Diego Padres at Washington, at Baltimore. Part of the Soto return from the Yankees. Got 5 losses. His control's been better lately, but I think I'll maybe just go 1 here.
That could be generous.
Yeah, it might be.
I think I'm going to go 1 as well, but
neither of us feel nervous. Good about it. Yeah.
And I was on Vasquez heading into the year. So, anyway.
Oh, Bobby Miller. So he was wondering in the chat, we had a question about stashing pitchers. DL Hall, I assume, and then Bobby Miller or Clark Schmidt. Hall, interestingly, resuming a rehab assignment, and he will now stretch out as a starter. It looked like he'd kind of work in relief.
It was up in the air.
Yeah. I don't have a strong take on this. Is Bobby Miller even coming back this year? Well, he's in the minors. He should be back.
To me, the upside, if it's a stash, it's Miller and Schmidt. For me, it's the upside. But I mean, I think
I'd say Hall and Miller, but that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a tough call. I mean, I don't think you're going to regret, dropping in any one of those guys, to be honest. But I get that it's you want to chase a little upside and you have to make a call. But yeah, I'd say I guess we're both in agreement on Miller. Then I say Hall and you say Schmidt, right, son?
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we're back to our 2-star pitchers for next week. Getting near the end of the list here. Logan Gilbert's a 5, right? Angels, White Sox, about a 6.
Yep.
All right, let me get that on the list here. We'll recap these 2-star pitcher grades when we're done. All right, next up, Logan Webb, and then we might very well see the Giants' debut of Robbie Ray. So he pitched 5 innings on July 14th at AAA and 5 scoreless innings. Only 1 hit allowed, 1 walk, and 9 Ks. So looks like Robbie Ray's Giants career will get off the ground next week. Webb's going to be a 5. Where do you land on Ray?
I have no idea. I mean,
I think I'm going to give him a 1.
I guess a 1 just because. Aren't there like 4 injured guys? I mean, Kershaw, Ray, Springs, and one that I'm forgetting about that I'll try to remember who it is, that are all potentially coming back next week. And that's Marquez coming back this weekend.
Oh, yeah, Marquez. Jeez, that's right. Oh, it's like a blast from like 2016 or something.
Yeah.
Renaissance, I guess. You're in agreement on Webb being a 5. And I'm going to give Ray a 1 mostly just to have him on your radar. Like maybe you could pick him up. Probably wouldn't start him next week, but a guy you can pick up and see what happens. Lance Lynn at Pittsburgh versus Washington. Oh, gosh, Lance Lynn. I feel like I've taken a real beating from Lance Lynn. He's actually been serviceable in real life, but every time I start him in fantasy, it feels like it's been a disaster. 6 innings in his last start before the break. Go ahead.
Yeah, to me, it's a complete matchup. I mean, low home run team, I'm more into Miller, but how many? There's so much risk there. These matchups were
at Pitt versus Washington. I'm going to give Lynn a 2.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 2.
All right. Next up, Zach Littell at the Yankees versus Cincinnati. Tough call. I kind of bought in on Littell, and it hasn't really worked out. But
yeah,
at the Yankees versus Cincinnati, probably only going to go 2 on Littell.
I agree.
All right. Well, what about Michael Lorenzen and John Gray? Seemed like Gray was kind of tipping his pitches for a little while.
Gray has been a weird scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Then he got hurt, and now he's can't figure anything out. I'm maybe losing my laptop. I thought it was plugged in. It's not. So hopefully I won't go out on you. Hopefully find a plug before we sign off. I can't go much higher than a 2 for Gray. He's baffling.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to give Lorenzen a great 2 as well.
Yeah, all right.
Kind of a tough call, but Jose Barrios, 8-7 record, a 4.01 ERA versus Tampa Bay versus Texas. So home for a couple, not a 5, but a 4, and it always feels like Barrios is a 4 or a 3 if the matchups are really tough.
Exactly. Now, yeah, I wish there was a better backing up. I'm going to go 4. I don't love it, but I'm going to go 4.
And finally, the lefty Mitchell Parker for the Washington Nationals, 24-year-old who, just before the break only lasted 2/3 of an inning, gave up 5 earned runs. So brutal way to end the break. But before that, he went 7 innings, and before that, 6. Before that, 5. Quite a few earned runs, though. So don't hate him, but I think for Mitch Parker, for me, he's only a 2.
Yeah, I agree. I'm beginning to Washington, Jake Irvin. I mean, I'm beginning to get interested in their pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like they're kind of like what they've done this year in that they gave a couple of veterans a chance, but then moved on. They didn't move on from Joey Meneses in short order, but they moved on from Senzel and Eddie Rosario. So, and it doesn't seem like they're maybe completely out of it. I mean,
haven't moved on from Paxton. Not Paxton.
Yeah, Corbin. Yeah,
Corbin.
That's true, but the guys they brought in for this year on cheap deals, they kind of moved on from.
Yeah, well, Winker. I mean, what you hope one of the 3 pays off, and Winker did. I guess.
Exactly.
Senzel was picked up by the White Sox. Was that it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, I think, maybe on his last legs in Major League Baseball. We'll see what he does with this opportunity. Could be his last. All right, let's recap our 2-star pitcher grades for next week, the week of July 22nd, 2024. Yilber Diaz, 2. Chris Sale, 5. Ronaldo Lopez, 4. Albert Suarez, 3. Tanner Houck, 4. Javier Assad, 2. Hunter Green, 4. Carlos Carrasco, 0. Spencer Howard, 0. Kyle Freeland, 0. Eric Fetty, I say 3. Todd, 4. Garrett Crochet, 4. Tarek Skubal, 5. Matt Manning, 0. Cole Reagans, 5. Carson Fulmer, 0. Jack Kukanowicz, 0. Yanni Chirinos, 0. Max Meyer, 2. Colin Ray, I say 3. Todd, 2. Bailey Ober, 3. Christian Scott, 3. Carlos Rodon, I say 3. Todd, 2. Hogan Harris, 1. Zach Wheeler, 5. Mitch Keller, 4. Randy Vasquez, 1. Logan Gilbert, 5. Logan Webb, 5. Robbie Ray, 1. Lance Lynn, 2. Zach Littell, 2. Michael Lorenzen, 2. John Gray, 2. Jose Barrios, 4. Mitchell Parker, 2. A lot of 2s to end the list.
Yeah.
Well, great talking to you, man, and great seeing you in Vegas. I'm really glad you made it out, and here's to a strong second half. Anything else on your mind?
Where's my camera? It's kind of weird. I think we're a little off kilter because the tech's a little bit weird today. We both have 3/4 of our voices, but no, we should be. I'm looking forward to the down the stretch, and let's do it. Let's go for it.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for everybody coming to hang out in the chat, and thanks for your support. Hope you'll join us over the rest of the season. Still got a ways to go to grind, and we will keep doing so. Talk to you next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings Pick Six.